Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone, two of the Celestial Alliance's top bodyguards, stood side by side, their tentacles twitching nervously as they scanned the bustling Earth street ahead. Assigned to protect Ambassador Arthur Green on his first official visit to this primitive planet, they were starting to wonder if they'd somehow drawn the short straw in the cosmic lottery. "Remind me, Tyler Knight." Tyler's gelatinous form gurgled, quivering with barely concealed anxiety. "Why did we agree to guard a diplomat on a death world?" Ethan Stone, his crystalline body shimmering in the sunlight, let out a sound that could have been a snort if he had nostrils. "Because, my amorphous friend," he replied dryly, "we were told it would be a character-building experience." "Ha! As if we need any more character," Tyler shot back. "I've got so much character I could open a theme park." The two aliens kept a close watch as humans of all shapes and sizes rushed past them, each one a potential threat in their suspicious minds. They attempted to blend in, but, unsurprisingly, they failed miserably. Tyler had squeezed himself into what he assumed was proper Earth attire, a garish Hawaiian shirt stretched tightly over his blob-like body, topped with a tiny, ridiculously small fedora. Ethan Stone, determined not to be outdone, had gone for a trench coat and sunglasses, looking like a disco ball attempting to go incognito. Ambassador Arthur Green, a being that bore a striking resemblance to a fern with googly eyes, stood between them, enthusiastically waving his fronds at passers-by. "Oh, isn't this absolutely marvelous?" he chirped, his leaves rustling with excitement. "Look at all the charming little Deathworlders going about their business, blissfully unaware of the dangers lurking all around them. How quaint!" Tyler Knight's gelatinous form rippled with what could have been a sigh. "Sir, with all due respect, perhaps we should relocate to a safer, less exposed location. This street feels particularly hazardous." Ethan Stone, his voice like the sound of wind chimes caught in a hurricane, added, "Indeed, Ambassador. In the last minute, I've identified no less than 17 potential death traps. That fire hydrant, for instance, is clearly a camouflaged plasma cannon. And don't even get me started on those pigeons. I've got my eye on them." Arthur Green's eye stalks turned toward his bodyguards, his expression one of what could have been amusement, if ferns were capable of such emotions. "Oh, you two are always so dramatic. We're here to experience Earth culture, not cower in fear. Now let's see what delightful adventures await us." Just then, a group of human children came charging down the sidewalk, laughing and shouting as they chased each other. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone immediately went into high alert, their bodies trembling with tension. "Incoming hostiles!" Ethan Stone screeched, his crystalline arms twisting into shapes that he hoped would appear threatening. "Ambassador, take cover!" Tyler Knight, refusing to be outdone, expanded his gelatinous form to create a wobbly shield around Arthur Green. "Don't worry, sir. I'll absorb any projectiles they might launch." The children, completely unaware of the alien panic they'd caused, raced past the trio without sparing them a second glance. One particularly energetic boy, however, couldn't resist reaching out to poke at Tyler Knight's quivering form as he ran by. "Whoa, cool costume, mister," the boy exclaimed, his finger sinking into Tyler Knight's gooey exterior. Tyler Knight let out a high-pitched squeal that resembled a rubber duck being squashed by an elephant. "I've been breached! Decontamination protocols initiated!" In a frantic panic, Tyler began to ooze and reconfigure his form, trying to expel the foreign contaminant, nothing more than a bit of sticky candy residue from the boy's finger. Ethan Stone sprang into action, his crystalline body spinning rapidly, creating a dazzling light show that he believed would confuse and disorient any potential attackers. "Fear not, Ambassador," he shouted, his voice deepening as he spun. "I shall blind our foes with my scintillating brilliance." Passers-by paused, staring at the bizarre scene unfolding before them. A gelatinous blob in a Hawaiian shirt was performing what looked like an interpretive dance routine, while a human-sized disco ball twirled like a deranged ballerina. Between them stood what appeared to be a potted plant with googly eyes, waving its leaves in what could either have been enthusiastic excitement or a desperate cry for help. Ambassador Arthur Green, for his part, seemed to be reveling in the spectacle. "Oh, bravo!" he cheered, his fronds clapping together. "What a wonderful display of Earth customs. I had no idea humans greeted one another with such elaborate rituals." as Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone continued their impromptu performance art. A small crowd gathered, smartphones in hand. Before long, the alien trio found themselves trending on social media under the hashtag weirdest street performance ever. Guys, a hesitant voice from the crowd called out. I think you can stop now. The kids are long gone. Tyler Knight, still mid-undulation, froze in a position that defied the laws of physics. Ethan Stone slowed to a stop, swaying dizzily, his facets flashing sunlight in all directions. Tyler Knight gurgled, attempting to salvage some dignity. Of course, we were merely demonstrating advanced defensive techniques for educational purposes. Ethan Stone, still somewhat wobbly, added, Yes, precisely. This has been a public service announcement. Remember, children, always be prepared for random acts of poking. The crowd, unsure whether to applaud or back away slowly, opted for a smattering of confused clapping. Seeing an opportunity for diplomacy, Ambassador Arthur Green stepped forward, his leaves spread wide. In a gesture of goodwill, Ambassador Arthur Green beamed with enthusiasm. Greetings, Earthlings, he announced, his voice ringing out. I am Ambassador Arthur Green of the Celestial Alliance, and these are my esteemed bodyguards, Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone. We come in peace and with a great deal of curiosity about your your lovely planet. A middle-aged woman, clutching her purse as if it contained the launch codes for a nuclear arsenal, squinted at the trio. Is this some kind of viral stunt? Are you promoting a new sci-fi movie or something? Arthur Green's eye stalk swiveled in confusion. Movie? Oh no, dear lady, he said. We are very much real. Allow me to demonstrate. Before either Tyler Knight or Ethan Stone could step in, Arthur Green began photosynthesizing at a rapid rate, his leaves glowing with a strange, ethereal green light. The crowd gasped in unison, quickly followed by the familiar clicking and whirring of dozens of smartphones. Oh, for the love of the cosmic gardener, Tyler groaned, his gelatinous form sagging in resignation. So much for staying low-key. Ethan Stone, ever the optimist, or perhaps just deeply confused, chimed in. Well, look on the bright side, partner. At least they're not trying to dissect us yet. The crowd pressed in closer, bombarding them with a whirlwind of questions. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone exchanged a look that spoke volumes. One that said, We're definitely getting demoted after this mission. Meanwhile, Ambassador Arthur Green was in his element, answering questions with the enthusiasm of a game show host hopped up on too much caffeine. Yes, we have faster-than-light travel. No, we don't probe humans for fun. That's just an absurd rumor. Oh, you want to know about my diet? Well, let me tell you all about the delights of photosynthesis. As the impromptu meet and greet continued, none of them noticed the sleek black SUV turning onto the street, its tinted windows hiding the occupants. The vehicle slowly moved through the crowd, its driver clearly bewildered by the commotion. Suddenly, a voice pierced the air. Tommy, where are you? A frantic woman pushed her way through the crowd, her eyes wide with panic. Has anyone seen my son? He's 5, wearing a red t-shirt and blue shorts. The crowd shifted its focus from the aliens to the distraught mother. People began calling out the boy's name, looking around frantically. Even Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone, sensing the urgency of the situation, began to scan the area with their alien senses. I detect no small humans nearby, Ethan Stone reported, his crystalline body vibrating as he performed a quick bioscan. Tyler Knight, not to be outdone, extended a gelatinous pseudopod into the air, forming it into a makeshift periscope. No sign of the little one from above either, he noted. As the search intensified, a high-pitched giggle suddenly echoed from beneath the slowly moving SUV. The mother's head snapped toward the sound, her face turning pale with horror as she realized where her son was. Tommy! She screamed, rushing toward the vehicle. Tommy, come out from under there now! The boy, thinking he was in the middle of an epic game of hide-and-seek, giggled louder. You can't find me, Mommy! He called out, his voice muffled by the undercarriage of the SUV. The driver, oblivious to the child underneath, began moving the vehicle forward again, clearing the crowd ahead. Time seemed to slow as the terrible realization of what was about to happen hit everyone at once. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone, trained to respond to threats in mere milliseconds, were paralyzed with shock. Their advanced combat algorithms had never prepared them for a situation like this. "Initiating emergency protocol," Tyler blurted, his gelatinous form rippling with panic. "Wait, what are the emergency protocols for something like this?" Ethan Stone, his crystalline mind running through countless scenarios, could only stammer, I don't know. Our training never covered small human under a large rolling death machine." But while the alien bodyguards floundered, the mother acted on pure instinct. With a primal roar that could have made a Zarian thunderbeast proud, she rushed forward, hands outstretched. What happened next would be burned into the memory banks of Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone for the rest of their lives, a moment that would shatter their understanding of the universe and their place in it. The woman, whom they had classified as a fragile, low-gravity species, reached the SUV just as it began to roll over her son. Then, defying every law of physics they thought they understood, she grabbed the underside of the vehicle and lifted the front wheels off the ground. Her face twisted in concentration and fierce determination, the mother hoisted the front end of the 2-ton vehicle. "Tommy!" she cried, her voice strained but filled with power. "Get out now!" The boy, finally sensing the danger, scrambled out from under the car, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe at his mother's incredible feat. As soon as Tommy was safe, his mother let out a triumphant yell and released the SUV, which crashed back to the ground with a heavy thud. The woman collapsed to her knees, gathering her son into her arms, holding him tightly as she trembled with a rush of adrenaline and relief. The street fell silent as the crowd stared, stunned, at the breathtaking display they had just witnessed. Even the SUV driver remained frozen behind the wheel, his mouth agape in shock. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone stood rooted to the spot, their alien minds struggling to comprehend what had just unfolded. Their extensive training, advanced technology, and arrogant belief in their superiority over these primitive Deathworlders, everything crumbled in the face of this extraordinary display of human strength and maternal love. "Did you see that?" Tyler Knight burbled, his gelatinous form still quivering in disbelief. With a mixture of fear and awe, Ethan Stone's crystalline form vibrated at a frequency that, in his species, could only be described as a nervous chuckle. "See it? I'm not sure I believe it, and I watched it happen with my own photoreceptors." Ambassador Arthur Green, who had remained unusually quiet throughout the entire ordeal, finally spoke up. "Well," he said, his leaves rustling thoughtfully, "I think we've just witnessed why they call this a death world, my friends, and why its inhabitants have somehow managed to survive on it." As the initial shock wore off, the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. People rushed forward to check on the mother and son, showering them with words of amazement and praise. The driver of the SUV, having finally regained his senses, stumbled out of the vehicle, frantically apologizing and thanking whichever deities he worshipped for the tragedy being avoided. Tyler Knight, Ethan Stone, and Arthur Green found themselves shuffled to the edge of the crowd, forgotten in the wake of this human heroism. They huddled together, trying to process the incredible scene they had just witnessed. I don't understand," Tyler Knight said, his voice unusually small. "Our data suggested that humans were physically weak compared to many galactic species. How could she lift a vehicle that weighs more than a dozen of her?" Ethan Stone, still vibrating with nervous energy, responded, "It goes against all logic. The amount of force needed to lift that vehicle, it's simply not possible for a being of her size and muscle density." Arthur Green, however, seemed more introspective than anything else. "My friends," he said seriously, his tone softening, "I think we've just been taught a valuable lesson in why it's unwise to underestimate these humans." As they watched the mother, now being checked by paramedics while clutching her son tightly, Arthur Green continued, "We've been so focused on their technological shortcomings, their shorter lifespans, and their vulnerability to their planet's harsh conditions. But we've failed to account for something far more powerful, their will to survive, their capacity for love, and their ability to transcend their physical limitations when it truly matters." Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone exchanged a glance, a new level of respect slowly dawning on their alien features. "Perhaps," Tyler Knight said thoughtfully, "we've been approaching this mission all wrong. We've been treating these humans as threats, but maybe we should be learning from them instead." Ethan Stone nodded, his crystals chiming softly. "Indeed, their adaptability, their unpredictability, those aren't just sources of danger. They are the very qualities that make them formidable, both as adversaries and as potential allies. As they pondered this shift in perspective, a commotion near the mother and son drew their attention. It seemed that in all the excitement, someone had finally noticed the three very obviously alien beings standing on the sidewalk. "Hey, wait a minute," a voice called out. "Are those aliens?" The crowd's attention shifted back to Tyler Knight, Ethan Stone, and Ambassador Arthur Green. The trio found themselves back in the center of the action, but this time, the atmosphere was different. The humans weren't just gawking at their alien appearance. There was a new undercurrent of respect. A burly man with a thick beard stepped forward, his eyes wide with awe. "Did you guys just see what happened with the lady in the car?" Tyler Knight, still a bit shell-shocked, managed to reply, "Yes, we did witness the event. It was most impressive." The bearded man let out a hearty laugh. "Impressive? Hell, it was downright miraculous. I've never seen anything like it." He turned to the crowd, his voice booming. "Hey, everybody, these aliens just got a front-row seat to some prime Earth action. What do you say we show them some classic human hospitality?" A cheer erupted from the crowd, and before the alien trio knew it, they were being swept down the street toward a nearby diner. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone, their training screaming at them to maintain a defensive posture, found themselves caught up in the current of enthusiastic humans. But the diplomatic schedule," Ethan Stone protested weakly, his crystalline form reflecting the neon lights of the diner as they approached. "We have a very carefully planned itinerary." Ambassador Arthur Green, however, seemed thoroughly entertained by the turn of events. "Oh, hush, Ethan Stone," he said, grinning. "This is exactly the kind of cultural immersion I was hoping for." He added in a playful whisper, "Though I do hope they have a sunny spot for me to sit. A fern's got to photosynthesize, you know." As they entered the diner, the overwhelming scent of grilled meat and freshly brewed coffee hit their alien senses. Tyler Knight's gelatinous form rippled from sensory overload, while Ethan Stone's crystals vibrated at such a frequency that nearby glasses hummed in response. The diner patrons, a mix of regulars and curious onlookers who had followed the excitement, watched with varying levels of amusement and astonishment as the aliens were led to a large booth. Arthur Green was carefully placed in a sunny spot by the window, his leaves unfurling with joy. A waitress, her name tag identifying her as Flo, approached the table, holding a coffee pot in one hand and a bemused expression on her face. Well, she drawled, popping her gum. "Can't say I ever expected to be serving little green men and whatever you two are supposed to be." She gestured at Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone with her free hand. "I'll have you know, madam," Ethan Stone, his crystalline form vibrating with indignation, cut in. "I am a highly respected member of the Celestial Alliance's elite guard, trained in 17 forms of combat." Tyler Knight quickly cut him off with a gelatinous tendril to what passed for his mouth. "What my esteemed colleague means to say is thank you for your hospitality. We're honored to be here." Raising an eyebrow, Flo smirked. "Well, honored or not, if you want to stick around, you're going to have to order something. We don't exactly allow loitering here, even if you're from outer space." The bearded man who had ushered them in slapped a meaty hand on the table, causing Tyler Knight to wobble alarmingly. "Don't you worry about that, Flo. I'm buying for our new alien friends. Consider it a welcome to Earth special." A cheer erupted from the patrons, and Flo shrugged. "All right then, what'll it be, spaceman?" Ambassador Arthur Green's eye stalk swiveled with excitement. "Oh my, so many choices. I don't suppose you have any nutrient-rich soil I could root in for a while?" Flo stared at him for a long moment before shifting her gaze to Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone. "And what about you two?" Ethan Stone, determined to maintain some shred of dignity, straightened himself as best as he could in his seated position, though, given his height, it wasn't a particularly impressive display. "I shall have your finest selection of inert gases, if you please, preferably neon, though argon will suffice in a pinch." Meanwhile, Tyler Knight had been eyeing the dessert menu, which, if an amorphous blob could feel such things, might have made him feel hunger. "I believe I would like to try this jello substance. It seems familiar somehow." Flo looked at each alien, then turned to the bearded man, who was now struggling to suppress his laughter. All right, she said, tapping her pen against her notepad. So that's one plate of dirt, a balloon full of neon, and a Jell-O mold. Anything else? Maybe a glass of motor oil to wash it all down? Before the aliens could respond, potentially digging themselves into an even deeper pit of cultural misunderstanding, the bell above the diner door chimed. All heads turned to see the mother from earlier walking in, her son securely nestled in her arms. She looked exhausted but relieved, the adrenaline from her incredible feat clearly wearing off. The diner erupted into applause as patrons stood to offer their congratulations and admiration. The mother, clearly embarrassed by all the attention, made her way to a booth not far from where the aliens sat. Flo rushed off to get the woman the biggest coffee they had. Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone found themselves staring at the human who had so completely shattered their understanding of this species' capabilities. "Should we say something to her?" Tyler Knight asked, his voice uncertain. Ethan Stone's crystals hummed softly as he thought, "Our mission parameters didn't cover post-life-saving etiquette with natives. Perhaps we should consult the ambassador?" But Ambassador Arthur Green was already one step ahead. Using his roots, he scooted his pot across the floor, much to the amusement of nearby patrons, and made his way to the mother's table. "Excuse me, madam," he said, his leaves rustling in what he hoped was a respectful manner. "I couldn't help but notice your remarkable feat earlier. On behalf of the Celestial Alliance, I'd like to express our admiration for your strength, both physical and of character." The mother looked down at the talking plant, blinked a few times, then glanced over at Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone, who were doing their best to appear nonchalant. Though, considering their alien physiologies, it was a hopeless cause. She then looked at her son, who was staring at Arthur Green with wide-eyed wonder. Thank you," she said, her voice a little unsure. "I'm sorry. Did you say Celestial Alliance? Are you aliens?" Arthur Green's eye stalks bobbed in confirmation. "Indeed we are. We're here on a diplomatic mission to learn more about your fascinating planet. But I must admit, we've learned more in the past hour than we ever expected to during our entire stay." The mother laughed, a sound full of pure relief and joy that seemed to light up the entire diner. "Well, I guess it's not every day you see someone lift a car, huh? Even for aliens." "Mom!" Liam piped up, his eyes alight with excitement. "You're stronger than aliens. That's so cool!" This caused a round of laughter from the nearby patrons, and even Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone found themselves joining in. Their alien vocalizations blended oddly but harmoniously with the human laughter. As the laughter began to die down, the mother looked at Arthur Green with curiosity. "So, what have you learned about us so far? I hope we've made a good impression despite, well, everything that just happened." Arthur Green's leaves rustled thoughtfully. "My dear, what we've learned is that we greatly underestimated your species. We arrived thinking of you as fragile beings barely able to survive on your own world. But now we see that your true strength lies not in your physical abilities, impressive though they may be, but in your unwavering spirit, your capacity for love, and your ability to unite in the face of adversity." The mother smiled, pulling her son closer. "That's a pretty nice way of putting it. Though I have to admit, I'm not sure I could lift a car every day. That was more of a, my baby is in danger kind of thing." "Nonetheless," Arthur Green continued, "this has given us much to think about regarding humanity's place in the celestial community. Perhaps it's time we reconsidered some of our assumptions." Just then, Flo returned with a tray piled high with the unusual order, plus a large mug of coffee for the mother. "All right, here you go," she said, placing the tray on the table. "We've got a plate of our finest potting soil for the talking fern, a balloon of neon for sparkles there, and a Jell-O mold for the blob. Oh, and a large black coffee for our local superhero mom. Anything else I can get for you folks?" Flo asked, setting the bizarre spread down on the table. The mother looked at the odd assortment of food, then back at the aliens, a playful glint in her eye. "You know what?" she said, grinning. "I think our new friends here deserve a proper Earth welcome. Flo, why don't you bring us a sampler of your best diner food? Let's show them what real Earth cuisine is all about." A cheer broke out from the other patrons, and even Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone were swept up in the enthusiasm. Flo, without missing a beat, hurried off to prepare a feast of greasy spoon delicacies, leaving the aliens to settle in for what promised to be a truly eye-opening cultural experience. Ambassador Arthur Green's eye stalk swiveled between his bodyguards, observing Tyler Knight's nervous quivering and Ethan Stone's anxious crystalline hums. "Well, my friends," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice, "I believe this is what the humans call going native. Shall we embrace it?" As the afternoon sun bathed the diner in a soft, golden glow, the three alien diplomats found themselves caught in an impromptu cultural exchange that no formal itinerary could have predicted. Plates piled high with burgers, fries, milkshakes, and pie quickly filled the table, the diner buzzing with the sound of laughter, questions, and the occasional startled squeak as Tyler Knight grappled with the challenges of eating solid food. Surrounded by the warmth of curious, welcoming humans, the aliens soon realized that their mission had already been a success, though not at all in the way they had imagined. They had come to Earth seeking to understand its inhabitants, and in just a few hours, they had witnessed the true spirit of humanity, resilient, unpredictable, and capable of feats that even alien minds found unfathomable. As Ethan Stone struggled with a fork, trying to manipulate it with his crystalline limbs, he inadvertently sent a pat of butter flying across the table, where it landed with a squelch on Tyler Knight's gelatinous head. Ambassador Arthur Green's leaves rustled in what could only be described as a contented sigh. "My friends," he said, raising a small root in a makeshift toast to Earth, "may it never cease to amaze us." The humans around them raised their glasses in a cheerful response, and for one fleeting moment, the vast distances between worlds seemed to shrink, connected by shared laughter and the universal joy of a meal with new friends. As the feast continued, Tyler Knight and Ethan Stone exchanged glances, their alien features softening with a newfound appreciation for the complexities of human life. They had arrived on Earth as protectors, looking for threats at every turn. But now they found themselves humbled, eager to learn more about these remarkable Deathworlders, humans who could lift cars with nothing but sheer willpower and offer hospitality to aliens with open arms and plates of greasy food. In the grand scheme of the universe, this small diner on a backwater planet called Earth had become the unlikely stage for a pivotal moment in intergalactic relations. It all started because a mother's love proved stronger than steel, and a group of humans decided the best way to welcome visitors from another world was with a slice of apple pie and a side of good, down-home hospitality. As the afternoon slid into evening, stories were shared, misunderstandings were laughed off, and bridges were built between species. Somewhere deep in the bureaucracy of the Celestial Alliance, a report was being updated, revising Earth's status from mostly harmless to approach with caution, curiosity, and an empty stomach.